Los Angeles Lakers head coaching search has led them to the great grandnephew of Mike Krzyzewski. Rumor has it that LeBron James and Krzyzewski's great grandnephew share the same favorite color as yellow, thus making him a perfect fit to lead the Los Angeles Lakers. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk. I'm your host, Kwame Fisher-Jones, and today's topic du jour is the Los Angeles Lakers head coaching search. I don't know if there's been a worse display of hiring or filling a position than what we are seeing today. Rumor has it now that Dan Hurley is up for being offered a monster deal to lead this team. This leads them after they woke up and decided that JJ Redick could have been next to Donald Sterling, the worst possible person to lead this team. Frustration, irritation, and lack of preparation seem to be the things that come to mind with the Lakers. Dan Hurley may be a good NBA coach, but we don't know. What we do know is you have two of the top 20 players in the NBA. You are the gold standard, or once were the gold standard of NBA franchises. Believe yourself to be NBA championship contender, you're looking for find head coaches that had no success on the NBA level. When we were talking about JJ Redick, the rumor was he's the next Pat Riley. And I kind of scoffed at that because Pat Riley was on a title team. Redick was not. Redick was on a team that lost when he was on the Orlando Magic to the Los Angeles Lakers. I don't remember him doing anything consequential in that series, but I do remember Trevor Ariza and Kobe Bryant having monster series. Pat Riley played with cats like Wilt Chamberlain and Jerry West and Elgin Baylor. JJ Redick's played with Chris Paul and Matt Barnes. I'm not dissing Chris Paul. No shots against Chris Paul. But I'm looking for the similarities. Other than both being white, I don't know what the similarities are. JJ Redick was a phenomenal college player. Great. So was Pat Riley with Adolph Rupp, who refused to integrate his team. Okay, so we got similarities there. Other than being white, I see no other similarities here. Never heard a coach or player publicly say, JJ did this, and it just shows how great his basketball IQ is. Other than crossing his legs when he talks, I don't know why JJ Redick, why we believe he has this high basketball IQ. Yes, I get it. He does a podcast with LeBron, and I guess we can thank him for that. But it's almost like because we went to Duke and he's white, we just automatically assume JJ Redick has this tremendous basketball IQ. And again, we can give this credit to LeBron James because he created this monster with the web show, but IQ isn't the issue with Redick, or it's not the issue with most coaches. And I kind of dumped on Redick in the beginning, but we're fools to think that coaches don't know the game on any level. And Dan Hurley's the number one prospect now, and safe to say Dan Hurley knows the game. JJ Redick probably knows the game because Dan Hurley has a better basketball IQ. That's, it's apples and oranges. You can debate that later. But the reason why I brought up JJ Redick's IQ and the reason why I attacked it was because that's supposed to be Redick's calling card. That's supposed to be what everyone's hanging their hat on to justify him being rumored for this position. Hurley has had success at UConn, and reportedly by Redick, LeBron loved UConn's strategy. Is that the reason why we want to hire him? Is that the best way we can say he relates to today's players? And you know what? Scratch that. Screw today's players. How does he relate to Anthony Davis and LeBron James? That's going to determine the next coach's success. Or, better yet, how they motivate Gabe Vincent and Austin Reeves. That was actually, or better yet, how they motivated Cam Reddish. Because see, those are the players who are going to need to exceed their current level of play for the Lakers to be successful. And I'm sorry, I don't believe Dan Hurley does that, and I damn sure know JJ Redick doesn't do that. How do I know JJ Redick doesn't do that? Let's talk a little bit about nuance. Let's talk a little bit about understanding maybe not so much the plight of your players, but what they're going through as men. How is JJ Redick going to relate to a Cam Reddish? Well, this is the same JJ Redick that said players in the 50s were plumbers and electricians and whatever have you. And while on the surface, it wasn't that big of a deal, there was something going on in the 50s and 60s that players had to deal with that just escaped the mind of J.J. Redick. Little thing called segregation. Little thing called the civil rights movement. Little thing called mental fortitude that those players have to display then that these players who can't even play back-to-back games without complaining about don't go through. Why is that relevant? Because you have to be able to understand that. You have to be more, you have to have the ability more than to just read the room. You have to understand everybody in the room. You don't have to agree with them, but you have to understand them. You have to understand what makes them tick. How am I going to get the most out of Cam Reddish in the middle of the season in game 44? How am I going to keep Gabe Vincent healthy and energized? How am I going to keep LeBron James and Anthony Davis listening and attentive to detail? See, those are the moments that win games. It's more than just practice. It's more than just certain moments of games, the last 5 minutes. It's about players understanding why they're doing things in practice. Give you an example. There's a guy about to play in the NBA Finals that was rumored to be a malcontent because he didn't get along with the last great white hope, Steve Nash. That guy's name was Kyrie Irving. Does Kyrie Irving look a little crazy now? Now that Kyrie Irving is one of the best closing players in the NBA. Stan Van Gundy said he's part of the best shooting or best closing clutch backcourt in NBA history. Jerry West is on line one. Jerry West and the little guy from UCLA are on line one. Caution that. But nevertheless, does Kyrie Irving look that crazy? Did Kyrie Irving look crazy, or did he look like a malcontent when he was in Cleveland with Ty Lue and LeBron James? No, he looked like a malcontent when he was in Boston. He looked like a malcontent when he was in New Jersey, calling his own practices after Steve Nash had held the practice because he didn't believe in what Steve Nash was doing. And Steve Nash had no way to relate to the player they called toxic then. There was also rumors about Kyrie Irving calling off plays during the games. No respect for Steve Nash. Why? Steve Nash couldn't relate or communicate with the player that they called toxic back then. Let's quickly fast forward to Dan Hurley, J.J. Redick. Between them, they have 0 championships on the NBA level. Between them, they have 0 All-Stars on an NBA level. Between them, they have 0 number 1 All-Star appearances, play ran for them, leader of men attributes on any NBA game. But they're going to walk in and they're going to lead this band of men that are so far on different levels of the spectrum, so far in different stratospheres, so far away from each other, they're going to lead. They're going to get 20-year-olds to agree with 40-year-olds and win in and compete in the Western Conference that is dominated by a EuroLeague player, a 24-year-old. What is Anthony Edwards? 22. Another 23-year-old Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They're going to compete with them. They're going to compete with the veterans in Golden State that are going to be somewhere in the 10 to 7 seed. They're going to be able to compete with Sacramento, who come and give them everything they got. They're going to be able to compete with the next surprise team that comes out of the Western Conference. The JJ said so. Stop it. And again, Dan Hurley may be a great NBA player. Highly unlikely this seems to be possibly a leverage move for a raise, but we'll see. You know, when the Lakers were headed to Irrelevantville, they were willing to throw a boatload of money at Mike Krzyzewski, and they almost got him. But in the end, they backed out. And they had success eventually with a guy who they'd had success with before. They had success with a guy who had won on an NBA level before. That's a hurdle that hopefully J.J. Redick doesn't need to cross. Because again, no one in this room, no one in your room, no one watching or listening can honestly believe that Dan Hurley or J.J. Redick is going to get the most or get Cam Reddish and Gabe Vincent and Austin Reeves to flourish under their tutelage. No one believes that. What proof do we have that a person who has never done it can eventually do it? And if you keep telling me how great his basketball IQ is, I've got to ask you, where was that IQ when he needed it as a player? Where was that IQ in clutch moments at Duke? Now, I can't talk about Dan Hurley's IQ as a player, but I can say this. It says a lot about UConn as having some of the best talent in the world, but in a watered down college basketball. And that's what college basketball is right now. It's watered down. The best players don't often play for the best teams. So now we're asking him to come in and bring that strategy and wherewithal to an NBA level for 82 games. And again, it's not about basketball IQ in the NBA. It's about how you relate to players. It's a peculiar mixture of win and develop talent and remain relevant. That's what the Lakers' job is. Again, it's a peculiar mixture of win, develop talent, and remain relevant. You want a guy that's done this, at least on some level, has gone to places that have been in complete disarray, complete schisms between the front office and you need a guy that's won championships as player. Because that's the guy that's going to get the respect of everyone in the room. You need a guy who sat on an NBA bench and knows how to relate to NBA players, but more importantly, has scouted NBA players, not sat on ESPN and told bad jokes, not watched ESPN while they sat and broke down film of whomever they're playing in the Big East, Big Five, or whatever conference you kind of in now. And I know what conference in, but you get the point. The bigger issue and the issue that JJ Redick can't do is the issue that Dan Hurley won't be able to execute is accountability. You need a guy who can find a chemistry that's conducive to winning and an accountability that sets them up to be successful. You need a guy who's been part of maybe not one, not two, but maybe three championship teams. A guy that's played for not one, but maybe two Hall of Fame head coaches. A guy that's played with a traditional big man. That guy that's played with an untraditional big man. A guy that's played with legends, iconic heroes. A guy that's been a leader of men. A person who has a resume. A resume. The claim match teacher. Not only giving to why that guy's not good for this job, but I'm giving you a resume of the person you should be looking for. Please don't give me Frank Vogel 2.0. Please don't give me Steve Nash 2.0. Please don't give me John Calipari 2.0. Those dudes have been successful wherever they were before, but success in Los Angeles looks, feels, and is different. You're judged by championships in Los Angeles. Not how many times you get there or how many times you can say it. You're judged by competing for titles in Los Angeles, not by sitting and doing podcasts with guys that shouldn't even be giving you their light. I mean, realistically, would anybody be mentioning JJ Redick as a coach if he wasn't doing a podcast with LeBron James? Really? Would we? Would we? Will we? Should we? Should JJ Redick be getting the Lakers job? Send him to Charlotte so they can do Charlotte. Oh, no, can't get the Charlotte job. Can't do the Charlotte job. And then I'm a Rob Pelinka guy, but I got to question his decision making and head coaches. I don't think Pelinka's done a bad job. I see a team that's been in the Western Conference Finals, NBA Finals, been to the playoffs under his tutelage. I don't have a problem with Rob Pelinka per se, but I do have a problem with the guy that decided against or lowballed one dude who just got an extension and I believe is the highest paid head coach, and you're on your third position. Sounds a lot like money don't know what he's doing. It sounds a lot like somebody else needs to be involved in this head coaching search. Sounds a lot like he shouldn't get a seat at the table. Just saying. Because the guy down the hall just got the biggest extension, managed to be successful, has gotten his team with less talent because they don't have LeBron James on that squad. They don't have Anthony Davis on that squad. In fact, they've got a bunch of off-injured, underachieving superstars on that squad, using the phrase superstar loosely. So I don't think you should get a second chance, third chance, fourth chance to screw this one up. But there is a guy out there who can lead this team. There is a guy out there that is best suited. There is a guy out there who's done things the right way, who's displayed on every level, and who is coaching right now, this very night, for an NBA title. Who would be the best man for this job? But for some reason, we don't want to give it to him. some reason he hasn't earned the right to get that opportunity. For some reason, a guy that won in a watered down B League, because those players couldn't even beat the G League team, and a guy who does a podcast, a guy whose network had to pay $1.1 billion more for the same product while agreeing to broadcast less games. I'm going to repeat that. The same guy who's been entrusted by a network that just paid $1.1 billion more for a product that they agreed to give less of, show less of, display less of, so they're paying more for less. This is the guy you think is qualified to lead your franchise. And if you're rebuilding, if you're developing talent, he has no record of doing that. The guy that's coaching tonight, the assistant coach that is tonight, has a record of that. Ask Steve Nash about that. Ask the New Jersey Nets team about that. Ask the Los Angeles Lakers about that. Ask the Houston Rockets about that. And again, I'm not going to say the name because people want to hang on the name and lose sight of my point. The Lakers have botched this head coaching search unlike anyone else I've ever seen before. And the problem with botching it is the best candidate is right in front of them. Just like they had the best candidate in front of them before, and they missed it. A wise man, what is it? A fool makes a mistake and learns from his mistakes. A wise man learns from the mistakes of others. It might be time to get a wise man in there to make the decision for their coach. And it might be time to stop looking for guys that remind you of success in the past, seasons that have passed, winters that have passed, and take the guy that is a poster child, a microcosm of what success has always looked like. That's it for this episode of Unparalleled Sports Talk. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you share, subscribe, like, comment, do whatever your podcast platform allows you to do. And until next time, as always, I appreciate your time here. You busy.